Okay, when you picture a tiger, what do you see? Probably this solitary hunter, right? A ghost of the jungle, living this magnificent, isolated life. But what if I told you that's only half the story? Today, we're going to peel back the layers on the surprisingly complex and secret social world of the tiger. So, let's start with the big question. Is this iconic cat really the lone wolf of the feline world? For decades, that's what we've all thought. But the reality? Well, it's a lot more complicated and, frankly, way more interesting. The answer isn't a simple yes or no. Now, to be fair, the myth has roots in truth. Adult tigers are fundamentally solitary. They hunt alone, and they fiercely defend their personal territory, their home range, from other tigers of the same sex. That's the classic image, and in that sense, it's absolutely correct. But here's where it gets really cool. Being solitary doesn't mean being isolated. Think of it like a neighborhood where nobody really talks face to face, but somehow everyone knows exactly what their neighbors are up to. That's the world of a tiger, and it's all held together by this incredible, invisible social network. So how on earth do they pull this off? How do you maintain a complex social system without ever, meeting up for coffee? It all comes down to a really sophisticated system of indirect communication. The best way to think about it is like a kind of biological social media. Scent marking with urine and special glands, that's their status update. It says, this is my turf, I'm here, and I'm doing just fine. The deep scrapes they leave on the ground are like visual posts left at key spots. And those powerful roars that can travel for miles, those are public service announcements, broadcasting their presence across the whole landscape. So what's all this social media chatter about? Mostly it comes down to real estate. For a tiger, territory is everything. But as you can see, males and females play the game very differently. A tigress will carve out a smaller territory that's packed with prey. For her, it's all about having the resources to raise her cubs. But for a male, the most important resource is the females. So his much larger territory is strategically designed to overlap with the home ranges of several potential mates. And this chart just drives home how much their entire social map is dictated by dinner. Look at this. In a prey-rich place like Ranthambore in India, a male's territory might be around 150 square kilometers. But in the sparse forests of Siberia, he needs up to a staggering 1,200 square kilometers just to find enough food. It's a powerful reminder of how the environment shapes every single aspect of their lives. All right, so we've established they're mostly solo artists. But, and this is a big but, there are these really crucial exceptions to the rule. There are a couple of key times when tigers actively break their solitude and actually seek each other out. Which brings us to a pretty obvious question, right? If they're always avoiding each other, how does the next generation of tigers even happen? Well, the answer lies in a brief but incredibly intense period of social interaction. When a female is ready to mate, she basically flips her social media status from do not disturb to available, ramping up her calls and scent marks. The local male picks up on these signals, and they'll spend a few days together. The mating itself is frequent and intense, happening dozens of times to make sure it's successful. But once that's over, they go their separate ways. There's no long-term bond. It's a very practical reproductive alliance. And after they part ways, the male's role is pretty much done. The tigress is on her own. She will carry, give birth to, and raise her cubs with absolutely no help from the father. In fact, an unrelated male showing up can be a huge danger to her cubs. Now, a tigress will typically have a litter of 2 to 4 cubs. They're born blind, helpless, and completely dependent on their mom for absolutely everything. And this marks the beginning of the second, and most important, exception to the solitary role. And this isn't a short-term thing. We're talking 2 to 2.5 years that these cubs will stay by their mother's side. This is their apprenticeship. It's Tiger University, where they learn everything they need to survive, how to stalk, how to hunt, how to navigate their complicated world. It's a long and absolutely critical period of social learning. And this right here is the most crucial point of all. In a life that is so defined by solitude, this bond between a mother and her cubs is the absolute bedrock of tiger society. It is the single most powerful and enduring social relationship they will ever have. And that powerful bond has lasting consequences. Scientists have a name for it, female philopatry. It sounds complicated, but the idea is pretty simple. When the cubs grow up, the young males are forced to travel far, far away to find their own turf, avoiding fights with the big, dominant males. But the young females, They often set up shop right next door to their mom, sometimes even sharing a bit of her territory. This creates this stable, multi-generational core of related females in one area. Okay, so we've looked at this hidden social life. But why is this more than just a cool piece of biology? Well, because understanding all this is absolutely critical if we want to save them. Here's the bottom line. You simply cannot protect an animal if you don't understand how it truly lives. To effectively conserve tigers, we have to conserve not just the individual animals, but their entire complex social structure. And when you get that, the real conservation priorities become crystal clear. It means we have to protect huge connected landscapes, so young tigers have a place to go. We have to protect their prey, because without food, the whole social system collapses. And crucially, we have to create and protect wildlife corridors, which are the physical highways that allow their invisible social network to actually stay connected. So the next time you see that iconic image of a tiger, I hope you see something more. Remember that you're not just looking at a solitary predator. You're looking at a key player in a complex, hidden, and fascinating society. And maybe the most important takeaway is this. Saving the tiger isn't just about saving a species. It's about preserving a culture,